Okay, we're going to continue on in the Apocrypha. This is the first book of Esdras, chapter 4, verse 43. Remember the vow that you made the day you succeeded to your throne, to rebuild Jerusalem and send back all the dishes taken from Jerusalem, which Cyrus set aside when he vowed to destroy Babylon and to send them back there. And you vowed to rebuild the house, which the Edomites burned when Jerusalem had been laid waste by the Chaldeans. So now, my lord the king, this is what I ask and request of you, and this is the princely liberality to come from you. I beg you to carry out the vow that you vowed with your own lips to the King of heaven, that you would carry out. Then Darius the king got up and kissed him, and he wrote letters to all his managers and magistrates and officers and of governors to escort him in safety with all who were going up with him to rebuild Jerusalem. And he wrote letters to the magistrates of Celesyria and Phoenicia and to those in Lebanon to bring cedar timbers from Lebanon to Jerusalem, and they should help him to rebuild the city. And he wrote in the interest of all the Jews who were going up from his kingdom to Judea to secure their freedom, and that no noble or governor or magistrate or manager should forcibly enter their doors, and that all the country which they were to occupy they should possess free from tribute, and that the Edomites should give up the Jewish villages which they controlled, and that 20 talents a year should be given for the rebuilding of the temple until it was completed, and 10 talents a year besides to provide burnt offerings to be offered daily upon the altar. In accordance with the command, they had to offer 17, and that all who came up from Babylonia to rebuild the cities should have their freedom, and they and their children and all the priests who came up. He wrote providing the expenses also, and the priestly vestments in which they officiate. And he wrote that the Levites' expenses should be provided until the day when the house should be finished and Jerusalem rebuilt. And he wrote that the lots of the land and the wages should be given to all who guarded the city. And he sent back all the dishes from Babylon, which Cyrus had set aside, and all that Cyrus had ordered done, he commanded them to do, and to send back to Jerusalem. When the young men went out, he lifted his face to heaven towards Jerusalem, and praised the King of heaven, saying, From you comes victory, from you comes wisdom. To you belongs glory, and I am your servant. Blessed are you who have given me wisdom. I praise you, Lord of my forefathers. And he took the letters and went to Babylon and reported it to all his brothers. And they blessed the God of their forefathers, because he had given them relief and liberty to go up and rebuild Jerusalem and the temple, which was called by his name. And they banqueted with music and gladness for 7 days. After this, the heads of families were chosen to go up, according to their clans, with their wives and sons and daughters, male and female slaves, and their cattle. And Darius sent them with 1,000 horsemen to escort them back to Jerusalem in peace, with music of drums and flutes, for all their brothers made merry. He made them go up with them. These are the names who went by their families within their tribes, for their priestly office. Of the priests, the sons of Phinehas, the sons of Aaron, Jeshua, the son of Josdeka, the son of Sirach, and Joachim, the son of Zerubbabel, the son of Santiel, of the house of David, of the line of Phares, of the tribe of Judah, who uttered wise sayings before Darius, the king of Persia. In the 2nd year of his reign, in the month of Nisan, the 1st month. These are those from Judah who went up after their sojourn in captivity, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had removed to Babylon, and who returned to Jerusalem, and the rest of Judah, each one of his own town, going with Zerubbabel and Jeshua and Nehemiah, Sirach, Rezada, Bigva, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispar, Relah, Rehum, and Benaiah, their leaders, and the number of those of the nation, and their leaders, the descendants of Perush, 2,172, and the descendants of Shephatiah, 472, the descendants of Arah, 756, the descendants of Path Moab, and the descendants of Jeshua and Joab, 2,812. The descendants of Elam, 1,254. The descendants of Zatu, 945. The descendants of Kobe, 705. And the descendants of Benui, 648. The descendants of Bebai, 623. And the descendants of Agzdad, 1,322. The descendants of Adakim, 667. And the descendants of Bigvai, 2,066. The descendants of Adon, 454. The descendants of Ader, the son of Hezekiah, 92. The descendants of Kilan and Astra, 67. And the descendants of Azuru, 432. The descendants of Ananias, 101. And the descendants of Aram, the descendants of Baziah, 323. Descendants of Jorah, 112. And the descendants of Bateras, 3,005. The descendants of Bethlehem, 123. The men of Nephah, 55. The men of Anathoth, 158. The men of Bashtemoth, 42. The men of Kirjath Jearim, 25. And the men of Kephira and Beroth, 743. The Chaldeans and the Ammonites, 422. And the men of Ramah and Geba, 621. The men of Mishmash, 122. The men of Beth-ai, 52. The descendants of Magbish, 156. And the descendants of the other Elam and Ono, 725. The descendants of Jericho, 345. The descendants of Sinah, 3,330. Of the priests, the descendants of Zedekiah, of the house of Jeshua, among the descendants of Anasib, 972. And the descendants of Emer, 1,052. The descendants of Pashur, 1,247. The descendants of Haram, 1,017. Of the Levites, the descendants of Jeshua and Kadmiel and Banis and Sudas, 74 of the sacred singers. The descendants of Asaph, 128. Of the doorkeepers, the descendants of Shallum, the descendants of Ader, the descendants of Tolman, the descendants of Akkub, the descendants of Hadatiah, and descendants of Shobai, in all 139.